The Lakers have a plan, apparently, to play Bronny and LeBron together. Should they? How should that actually look? Plus, the Hornets kind of doing stuff. Klay Thompson debuts in a non-Warriors uniform, some injuries. We have a lot to discuss on Locked On NBA. Let's do it.
You are Locked On NBA, your daily NBA podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yo, what's up, everybody? Happy Friday and welcome into another edition of Locked On NBA, your best place to get the latest and greatest from around the association. There's games, there's the Lakers, there's Bronny, there's injuries. Man, oh man, do we have a lot to dive into today. And to do it, you're getting the greatest sixth-man duo possible, Lou Williams and Montrezl Harrell together. I'm Tony East of Locked On Pacers. Joining me, somebody I talked to a lot last year during the Eastern Conference semifinals from Locked On Knicks, it's Gavin Schall. Gavin, what's up? Are you enjoying the fact that one, you're covering Karl Towns, and two, the NBA is back. We have like a week of games now.
Yeah, I'm pumped, Tony. I'm bummed you couldn't have thrown in a Knicks six-man. You couldn't have given me Jamal Crawford, Emmanuel Quickley, that Deuce McBride this year. But you know what? I still love you. I'm excited to talk to you. I think it's going to be a blast.
I cannot say I think of Jamal Crawford as a Knicks player, but that's okay. That does count. I should have done that one.
He played in the alumni game with the Riddler, so
that's true.
Something. Yeah.
Trez and Lou are on the same team. It's going to be the forever bench combo. We have a lot to get to today. Speaking of a bench player, we're going to lead with Bronny because one of the most interesting bits of news we got today was about the Lakers having a plan to play him and LeBron together when the regular season comes, and that made my eyebrows raise. Plus, the Hornets kind of look good, and I like talking about the Charlotte Hornets because they're interesting to me. Klay Thompson played in a non-Warriors jersey and lots of injuries, including one that Gavin knows a lot about with Mitchell Robinson we got to get to today. Let's start, as we do here, with the Lakers, because Shams Charania, newly of ESPN, got to get used to talking about that, was on Get Up this morning, and he was asked about Bronny and LeBron playing together when the regular season starts. They've played in a preseason game already, but the regular season will be different. First father-son duo on the floor at the same time, which, stop right there, that's sick, right? That's really cool. Also, Bronny was the 55th pick in the draft, and probably isn't in the Lakers' plans for success this season. My own expertise on that would be that I cover the Pacers, who had the 55th pick last year. It was Isaiah Wong. He played one NBA game last year, Gavin. He played one game. So drafts are different, players are different, whatever. But I found it very interesting that they have a plan, and Shams said, quote, as soon as opening night, unquote, could be the way to do this. Gavin, is this something that should be a planned event? Should this be something that is scheduled? Should it come with game flow? How would you approach this sort of big deal, but very interesting kind of situation if you're the Lakers?
I think we just need to be honest about what it is, right? I don't think the Lakers are operating as a team whose chief goal is winning a championship right now. I think they're operating as a team whose chief goal is to serve LeBron James and be an entertainment product. And that's fine. That is how the NBA makes its money at the end of the day. It's not the end of the world, but that's what this pick was, right? Like, this was not like we saw the quotes in Baxter Holmes' article. Yeah, the Lakers were set on Bronny for a long time. They think he is potentially be a great 3-and-D guy. If it turns out to be the case, I will eat my words on that. But with the amount of attention it's going to get, with the amount of time JJ Redick is going to be obligated to answer questions about it, like, you can't tell me this was a good decision for the Los Angeles Lakers in 2024, 2025. That being said, I don't think it's the worst idea in the world to get it out of the way the first game, right? Put him on the floor, 45 seconds, take him out of the game. You don't have to answer questions about it. And I think I would assume that's JJ Redick's preference. Like, to me, that is the smartest way to handle it. So this actually, as much as I'm a pessimist on this and being a Grinch, like, to me, this is like the best way to handle it. And then, like, hopefully, like, people forget about Bronny the rest of the year because he's obviously not ready to play NBA minutes. But what did you think about it?
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, part of me thinks, okay, start him, play a minute, both teams burn a timeout, and then play a 47-minute game, but like, have it be really cool that this happened for a minute. Like, if LeBron gets hurt and it never happens, or Bronny gets hurt and it never happens, that would suck, right? Like, I do want to see it. They stopped the whole freaking game when he set the record against the Thunder. Like, we've seen moments that matter a lot. That's a different moment, a much bigger one, to be clear. But like, we've seen moments like this that matter a lot be something that is stopped. And ironically, I think, like, you remember, I don't know if you remember this, but like USC and UCLA used to play each other, and they'd wear red and blue jerseys. And one team was supposed to wear white. So the team that was wearing the wrong jersey would get a timeout burned, and the other team would just call one right away to make it fair. Because, like, yeah, we want to wear the jerseys. This is stupid, right? Everybody wants to see it at some point. So, like, find a way to make it happen, I guess, because it's really hard to make it authentic because of how far apart their talent level is, right? It's not easy to just be like, yeah, perfect. Our rookie late second round pick and our best player of all time or second best or whatever at the same time. Perfect. This makes sense for our goals, right? So maybe you do it instantly. Maybe you plan to do it in the fourth quarter of a blowout. I think too, they play the Cavs in Cleveland really early in the season. The Akron connection, that could be a cool way to do it. So the part that made my eyebrows raise was when they said the opening night part, right? Because that suggests more planning has gone into this than I maybe thought, which would just be like either in Cleveland at the very end or just a natural game flow moment. But the fact that they're planning it means they kind of realize it's not a natural basketball thing, but also it kind of has to be if it's going to have an opening night for sure. Like, it's very hard to kind of put all this together to me, even though I get why it's such a big deal.
Yeah, I'm so curious because they're playing the Wolves, right? How does Anthony Edwards handle this? Because he's boys with LeBron and AD. You saw him dapping them up. But the Anthony Edwards I know is pressing full court and is up in Bronny's grill and is saying, you so much as touch the basketball, I am taking it away from you and going to the other end and dunking on your dad, right? Like that's I kind of want to see that energy from Anthony Edwards. Like, and because I think back to the Thunder game you referenced when LeBron broke the record and the Thunder were sitting there and they were saying, F this. Like we want to go like kick this team's butt. Like, great for LeBron. We're happy for him. This is still a basketball game. And that was for the guy scoring the most points in the history of basketball. It is monumental that he's getting a chance to play with his son. It is super, super cool. But in terms of like something that another basketball team should respect, like Minnesota shouldn't be burning a timeout to get him out of the game, right? This isn't a Make-A-Wish situation. Like they should be trying to bust his you-know-what if he is on the court. And I wonder if LeBron spent all summer buttering up Anthony Edwards specifically to avoid that scenario. But I'm curious about that aspect.
Yeah, it'll be a great trivia question in 10 years when people have to remember that the Lakers lost the game to the Thunder in which he set the record. It was a great game, right? I remember.
Yeah.
Down to the wire. Like, could this be something like that? What is it like? They take a photo of one possession where they pass to each other, then sub. Like, what does playing together actually entail to make it a moment? That's another part of this that I think.
Yeah, is JJ obligated to drop a play with the two of them? Like, how far does it go? Yeah.
So you probably watched this game, right? Last year, the Knicks, the day they traded for OG, were like desperate for bodies. So they put Jacob Toppin on the team for a day, and him and Obi played against each other in Indy. They played for the last 46 seconds against each other. Obi was out, done playing because it was a blowout. Came in, gave him a hug, and they just did some cardio, right? Like, it was really cool. Their parents were there, but like that was the extent of it. You know, like that's what it kind of feels like with a two-way guy or a back end of the roster guy like Bronny. So I just think it's going to be really hard to balance. I think Ant taking it really seriously would mitigate what I'm saying to balance. Like, this is a big moment, but also like kind of not a circus, but just like this isn't a competitive basketball thing right now necessarily, unless he's awesome. I don't think he was very good in their preseason game they played earlier today. So to be clear, it will be a cool moment. I want to see it. I also think it's very hard to do it authentically and still be like, yes, this is a real basketball thing. So I'm glad the Lakers have a plan. I think the Timberwolves should be a little annoyed that they might have to deal with this. But I kind of just think I always just assumed the answer would be, you know what? The first game that there's garbage time, that's that one, right? That's the one. It happens. Maybe that is opening night because the Wolves are good, or the Lakers kick their butt. Who knows? That's how I thought it would be. But now it sounds like this could be something else. And I think this will be very interesting. I have no more thoughts on this unless you have more to add.
I think the last thing I want to say, and this is sort of big picture, is like the tragedy here is that like it is undeniably an incredible accomplishment for Bronny to be the basketball player that he is, right? He's probably, I don't know, let's just say conservatively, one of the top 1,500 players in the world. How many people play basketball? Like, I don't know, 200 million, 500 million. I'm not sure what the number is, but that is, I don't care who your dad is. I don't care what kind of access to training you have. That is an incredible accomplishment. Yep. And instead of like being honored for that and like being like, probably like if he played 4 years, like a pretty good Division I college basketball player, he's being put in a situation to be laughed at. And like, that's not his dad's fault, but like, it does suck that this is a circus and that he's only there because of who his dad is, because it's not a joke in the sense that like, he can't play at all. Like, like he is an extraordinary basketball player by any standard that isn't the NBA. Unfortunately, this only works. And this is only a cool story and only a cool moment if it's in the NBA. So I feel for Bronny, and I know a lot of people have said that, but I wanted to express it myself because I don't want the takeaway from this segment to be like, haha, Lakers are so stupid, like clown Bronny. It shouldn't be, because it's an amazing story. It's just like, if they were going to do this, like, I think they should have given him 2 years in college to try to genuinely earn it, because if his name was anything else, like, I don't know if he gets drafted. I don't know if he's in the G League. He's certainly not playing opening night, right? Like, can we say that much?
Yeah, top 10 prospect before his heart stuff, right? Like, he was thought of like that. So the Lakers can say, without lying or without gritting their teeth, and go, hey, we actually believe in him, right? That's true. But we saw USC, right? Like, we saw Summer League, right? So how this all shakes out will be crazy to see. But I think it'll be good for him once it's over, for Bronny once it's over.
Definitely. Both of them.
Yeah, both of them, right? But the Lakers, too, they can develop. It could be natural. They can still play together in Ohio in a key moment. All right, games that did happen last night. LeBron and Bronny did play in Milwaukee, much to LeBron's chagrin. Also, Klay Thompson played for the Mavs. What? I know it happened, but it actually, like, really is a thing that happened. We have to talk about that in just a second. Before we talk Mavs and Klay Thompson, we have to talk about Game Time. If you wanted tickets to go see this game in Utah, you should have used Game Time. The best way to get sports, music, theater, comedy tickets, whatever near you. Game Time takes the guesswork out of the ticket buying process. The easiest way to go whatever event you're going to. They have curated deals to make it easier to find the best prices. They have super deals. They have seat views. I used it to get tickets to go out to New York Liberty, play the Dallas Wings last year in the Barclays Center. It was spot on. The view was exactly right. They have the lowest price guarantee. Well, they'll credit you 110% of the difference if you find cheaper tickets elsewhere. Event cancellation protection, their new Game Time Picks feature that makes it easier to find everything. They filter out the fluff, and so you don't have to waste any time searching through thousands of tickets. It is the best way to get tickets to whatever event you're going to. So download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKDOWNNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply, but again, create an account and then redeem the code LOCKEDON NBA for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. We're back here on Locked On NBA. So much to talk about in the world of the association. The Hornets, my irrational crush, coming up in a second. We start with, this is going to be gross. This is going to be Tony Parker on the Hornets, Hakeem Olajuwon on the Raptors, level gross. Klay Thompson wearing a non-Warriors uniform for the first time, debuting for the Dallas Mavericks. Gavin, before we start and before anyone types a furiously angry comment, Luka Donic did not play. It is not fair to assess the Mavs or Klay from this game. Okay, great. We can move on from that and actually talk about it. 3 for 9. All 3 of his makes were from 3 assists, 10 points. One, how weird was this to you to see? Because in my head, he'll be a Warrior forever. And 2, what do you think of what he can do for the Mavs? I know it's been frequently discussed, but this is the first time we got to see it on the hardwood.
The whole thing's sad. Like, his whole attitude has been a little bit of a bummer for someone who's just undeniably like a source of pure, unadulterated goodness. My favorite non-basketball NBA moment from the last decade will always be him getting interviewed about architecture in New York City by a reporter who had absolutely no idea who knew who he was. One of my best friends in the world, shout out Sarah Jarvis, her company was striking, and he this summer was in New York and went over and started talking to all of them and started supporting all of them. So like, I love Klay. Let me start off with that. It's been weird. Everything he said, like everything he's done since leaving the team, like the stuff with Book 2 years ago. Like, I think did I get Centel? Did he get like a 4-ring tattoo or something? Because everyone needs to know over and over again who he is and what he's done. Like there's 2 sides to this. The actual basketball side is like, I don't care about that much tonight. I thought he had some moments defensively. It did not look good shooting 2s. Like, that's obviously been like since the injuries, the big drop off in his game, going from someone who's nearly 50% from the field to someone who's low 40s and is almost entirely reliant on high volume 3-point shooting to derive his efficiency. I'm optimistic about how this looks with Luka Doncic. I think it's easy to forget, given that last game was the horrible Kings game where he went 0 for 10, 23, 3-3 in April, 50-44, 100 splits. I think he can absolutely still shoot the basketball. Their starting lineup is going to be huge. As much as Steph's gravity created shots and moments for him, he's never played with a passer like close to the level of Luka, and someone who can, like, on a dime, like sling an overhead hook shot like 30 feet across the court and hit him in the corner. I actually think it's going to go pretty well from a basketball perspective, even if there'll be some moments, and I don't think the contract will age super well. I think this season will be pretty good for Klay and the Mavs. But what did you think about it?
Yeah, I had to separate these in my head going into this because I thought he got overrated the last couple of years with the Warriors, and then he landed on the perfect team because the Mavs just need him to do the thing that he's still good at, which is shoot, space it out. And even if his 2s aren't a thing anymore, anymore. He provides so much spacing, and the threat of his three is so huge on a team with Kyrie and Luka. And maybe Lively can shoot now, which is crazy, but like he's going to be inside a lot. Like that is exactly what they needed, right? So that's a perfect spot for him to look effective and help a team do very well. Outside of the fact that, again, it's going to be like Tony Parker Hornets jerseys where I'm like, what? That says Dallas? That's blue? What is going on here? I think it'll go well, right? Once this settles into more of a thing. They also they started Omax Prosper and Spencer Dinwiddie in this one, so no PJ Washington either. It's the preseason. You can never assess anything in full, but the fact that all of his makes were threes and he had 3 assists, like they'll need him to move the ball a little bit at times. Like he'll probably be the secondary creator when one of Luka or Kyrie is off, especially if Dinwiddie does. I was only reading Mavs tweets for this part, but not a lot of people watching the Mavs thought Dinwiddie did a lot in this game. So that will be a major storyline. Can he keep it moving and keep their offense humming when he's the secondary guy, even though certainly with the starters, he'll be tertiary. Gavin, the first preseason game I watched this year was Hornets Knicks, and I'm sure you watched it too. And then the Hornets played 2 nights later, and they played the Heat, and LaMelo Ball had, let me make sure I have this right, 24, 6, and 5. And then tonight, the Hornets played again. LaMelo Ball did not play this time. They played the Grizzlies, and they smoked them. And Brandon Miller had 22 points, and Nick Richards had 11 boards, and Trey Mann had 19 points. Are the Hornets okay? Are the Hornets good? You watch them up close. What am I crazy? Am I getting ahead of myself? Or do the Hornets maybe have something brewing here? Every time I check, they're doing good, and their important young guys in particular are succeeding in major ways.
I'm going to say a year away from like legitimate playoff race. I think they're still just on the outside. They are in a different tier though than probably the Pistons and the Wizards. Yeah, I'm so set on the idea that Brandon Miller is going to be a star. 22, 4, and 2 tonight against the Grizzlies. 8 of 13 from the field, 6 of 8 from 3. Like I don't think I guess Wemby, but like there wasn't really a young player that impressed me more last year than Brandon Miller against the Knicks. Like the size, the shot making. I think they have a guy who's going to be a perennial all-NBA type wing sooner rather than later. LaMelo, it's such an interesting thing, right? Because the talent has never been the question. It's been like, is he just a serious NBA basketball player? Does he want to be a circus unto himself? And that's not really even an indictment on him because like he hasn't had any incentive not to be a circus, right? They haven't put any kind of talent around him in the past. This year, between Miller, whatever, I don't love, obviously, Bridges as a human being, but basketball talent is unquestioned. Showed off a really good 2-man game between those two in the game against the Heat. Like I like that LaMelo was like throwing hit-ahead passes. He's looked surprisingly locked in on defense in these first 2 preseason games. Like he's doing serious basketball stuff. I'm a fan of the rookie Tajon Salarin a lot more than I thought I would be. Like he seemed like a classic. Yeah, 2 years away from being 2 years away. But this sounds like an insult, but I promise coming from the Locked On Knicks host, it's a compliment. He reminds me of rookie Kevin Knox in that like he's like broad and huge and has such a stable base when he's shooting threes. Was not good from distance tonight, 2 for 9, 7 of 12 though the first 2 games. That's really exciting if he can come in and shoot the basketball right away. Trey Mann looks good. I think getting Mark Williams back will make a big difference. I'm with you. I'm excited. I think more so in the sense that they're going to be fun and still probably win like low 30s games this year, but I don't think they're going to be an embarrassment to basketball anymore.
Yeah, LaMelo, Miller, Miles Bridges, Mark Williams, and whoever they opt to have be their 5th starter when games come. Josh Green, Seth Curry, Grant Williams, if they go big, whatever. Like that's a real group of 5 players, right? And they haven't had that, and you're right, that helps a big part of it. But all of those guys at times of preseason, you've gone like, whoa, like they're still, except for Mark Williams hasn't played, obviously. Oh, wow, this guy's still good enough to do good things and make this team good. Their depth is always the question, but like every game, like Salon had 15 against the Heat and played well against the Knicks, as you know. Trey Mann had 19 tonight. You go back to that Heat game also. When LaMelo was cooking, Nick Richards was very good, right? Like they just if they have enough stuff that I'm like, I might be saying playing for the Hornets this year. I might be doing it. They've had enough good performances from their stars to keep me locked in. And Brandon Miller tonight, I can't believe that the Hornets Grizzlies game in which Marcus Smart got hurt made it here. But I was in. We had to talk about the Hornets and fit it in. And speaking of Marcus Smart getting hurt, injuries and retirements, a big story throughout the entire preseason. And now another one again with Mitchell Robinson, Dante Exum, and kind of Danny Green for different reasons, dominating headlines on Thursday. We'll talk about all that and the importance of them all to close out today's Locked On NBA. Before we get to that, we have got to talk about the great folks over at FanDuel. NFL fans game last night. Games coming up this weekend. You can keep the season rolling yourself with a big return over on FanDuel. They are America's #1 sportsbook. Whenever you get it, we all get it. The hunch, the inch in the middle of a game to dive in and place that bet. You can be as informed as possible because in one page, FanDuel has the latest stats from a game, live up to the game, play-by-play, and so much more right on the same page where you place your bets. So you're informed about what's going on, the right timing, who should be the person you're interested in if you're doing it that way. That is how it should be. And you'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That is all on FanDuel.com. Back once again on Locked On NBA. Thanks for making us your first listen today. Make Locked On Knicks your second listen. They have a lot to talk about with Karl-Anthony Towns, who's a Knick. I still am not used to it. Oh my gosh, that starting five is going to be crazy good. We're not talking about Cat today, but they have Cat because they needed a center. And part of, not the only reason, but part of the reason they needed a center is Mitchell Robinson was hurt last year. He played right at the beginning of the playoffs, and that was it? Or did he not even? And then
he played through the first round, and then Joel Embiid decided to pull his leg out of the air, and that was that. So, yep.
And the thought was that he might be back early this season, maybe right when it started, maybe later. And then it came out to just kidding, maybe December. And now a new update, Gavin. What's going on there? And can the Knicks handle this? They obviously have a good starter now.
Yeah, so we got from ESPN's Shams Charania is not going to be back until January, but even when the Knicks, the timing was suspicious given the Towns trade coming in quick succession. It was almost like, all right, we got this done. Now we can reveal our weakness to the public. The Knicks put out there, which they probably knew for a while, that Mitchell Robinson was going to be out for a little bit. But the emphasis all along from this Knicks coaching staff and front office has been patience with Mitchell Robinson, right? They know that they are playing for April, May, hopefully, man, every bone in my body crossed, June. And you need Mitch to be healthy for that. And you need Mitch, hopefully only being like an 18-minute per game player with Karl-Anthony Towns being your primary center. But I do think while there's a lot of talk swirling that Mitch will not be on this team to end the year, and if you ask me to put some money down, I would refuse to do so because I think it's very 50-50. If he is, I think there's still a credible role for him. I think the Knicks want to maintain their identity of just a dominant offensive rebounding team. Isaiah Hartenstein is one of the best at that in the NBA. He's gone. Mitchell Robinson is the best at that in the NBA. He's going to be gone for a while, but I do think there is a mold similar to how Minnesota dominated defensively with Mitch, with Cat, with OG, with Mikal, where you can just put a lot of size around Jalen Brunson. And against certain teams and certain matchups, particularly if they run into the Sixers and Joel Embiid, I still think Mitch has a lot of utility for this team. So it hurts them a little bit. I think it's just fine that they take their time with him coming back, though.
Yeah, people keep talking about the Knicks can't trust him. He gets hurt so much, like he has in the past. But I think if he's asked to play 15 minutes a night, he would get hurt less. That's how it works.
Generally,
so in theory, he is definitely their best backup center. In theory, if what I just said actually happens, they would want to keep him and have him play in the postseason. Now, their financial situation means maybe they just have to explore it at some point this year. And some of it could be, you can speak to this more than me, but if either one of Jericho Sims or Precious Achiuwa looks like anything of importance at backup center until January, that would make it easier for the Knicks to do that. So they have Cat. This isn't the end of the world. We're talking about 20 minutes at tops per game where this matters, and they might even just play OG at center sometimes. I don't know what you think about that. But obviously a big deal. He's their best backup center and set their style in a major way last year. I'm looking forward to watching the New York Knicks this year. Dante Exum was good in the finals last year and good for the Mavs a lot of times. He was their best wing defender a lot of last season. He's going to be out for quite a bit of time now. We found out earlier today. What do you think the Mavs can do about this? Because part of what made them ascend from where they were to a NBA Finals appearance was they got their stuff together on defense. Huge part of that was Exum. They added some pieces, but I'll be curious what they think they can do on the defensive end now.
Yeah, to me, I'm just hearing Quinton Grimes music, right? You're throwing me lobs, Nick. I get to talk about one of my former favorite Knicks of all time in Quinton Grimes. I think I'm still kind of shocked Detroit after just playing him for 6 games, and then he got hurt. Just threw him into the Tim Hardaway salary dump for no reason. But he's one of the better point of attack defenders in the NBA. He hasn't gotten a ton of time to show it, but we've watched him on the Knicks lock up star guard after star guard. Super strong core, can really move his feet, tenacious on that end, 6'5", and can shoot the heck out of the basketball and has shown flashes of a little bit more playmaking. And look, that was pretty much all the Mavs asked Dante Exum to do, right? Be an ace 3-point shooter, be a great defender, attack off the dribble here and there. Grimes has not been super consistent in his ability to be aggressive and be confident. I think this is the team for him, playing off Luka Doncic, learning from Klay Thompson. Like, I think there's a lot there for him to succeed. And I think this could end up being a blessing in disguise. If he really emerges, they get like an even younger version of Exum, and having two of them is better than one. So I don't think it's the end of the world for Dallas. Obviously, you'd like to have Exum because he was just that good and that much of a pleasant surprise in the regular season.
Yeah, Grimes, Gafford, Maxi Kleba, and Najee Marshall is still a pretty good defensive group of bench guys that they can filter into an already okay, like Klay and PJ Washington and Derek Lively starting five. So I don't think it's like the end of the world for the Mavs. I still think they'll be a pretty good defensive team if they can do what Jason Kidd had them doing last year, which he does not get enough credit for that turnaround. Like, obviously, he is partially to blame for them being as bad as they were on defense for a while, but like, they were amazing. Where did that come from? The Pacers smoked them twice in early March, and I was like, wow, the Mavs kind of stink right now. And then they were the best team in the league for the rest of the season until the finals. They have the defensive talent to do it, but he was one of their best wing stoppers or on-ball guys on the perimeter. Marshall's going to have to take on, I think. He's instinctively the guy I think will have to take on a bigger role in that way, just given the talents on that team. And Klay now becomes more important. We already talked about him being in a new uniform, but he's never going to be the defender he was in the past. Did he ever make an all-defense team? I think he did. Right at his apex, he was pretty close to that level for the Warriors. He's not that guy anymore, but he'll become even more important. Not on a team, but a five-time champ? I should have looked this up before. Several-time champion. Our generation's Robert Horry that we will bring up in stupid ring culture conversations forever. Danny Green calls it a career. Every team he was on, everyone was like, why'd they sign Danny Green? And then immediately they figured it out. What a career, Gavin.
Yeah, three championships. I just pulled it up with three different teams.
Am I crazy? Did he make a lot?
Yeah, no, only one with the Spurs, one with the Raptors, one with the Lakers.
I think it was way more than that. Anyway,
I think just because it felt like he was on San Antonio for 20 years, but he was only there for a couple of years. But I think people forget just how close we were to having Danny Green Finals MVP. And when you always look at Finals MVP and use it like as like a legacy conversation point, I think it would have been so funny to be like, oh yeah, Danny Green won one too. Huh, is he top 100 all time? No, that's it. But he set or was close to setting, like at the time, maybe Steph's broken it since, like a record for made threes in that 2013 series against the Heat. And then of course, like what happened, the legendary Ray Allen shot, but he was extraordinary at his apex. And just as someone, I'm sure Tony, you were like me, you grew up loving those Spurs team. As someone who's like watching every single one of those games and drooling and deciding based on that, like, hey, I want to make a career out of this. This is like the best thing in the world. Like he was the accelerant on those teams. Like when he started really cooking from distance, it just felt impossible to keep up with them. And you looked at him and you said, like, this guy like was like barely considered an NBA player coming out of North Carolina. Like, how is he so good? But I like in the context of that offense was amazing. And then I think like the fact that like he left San Antonio and like still had a great career from that point forward, still won 2 more titles, like just to prove to be an essential guy on some of the best teams in the league. Like big shouts to Danny Green, like great person, incredible shooter, strong defender. Like what a career he had. Like if you're not going to be a star, that's about as good as it gets.
46th overall pick, 15-year career. That's the headliner, right? And that says volumes about what he was able to do. The reason I probably thought he won more than 3 is he obviously made the finals the year you're talking about. Well, we're close in 2017 before the Zaza Kawhi stuff made that not possible, and then was on very good teams in Philly as well. So he's been on so many good teams that I just thought, I don't know why I thought it was so much more. 3 is still remarkable. Made an all-defense team. I forget when, one of those years with the Spurs. Will just be one of those unheralded guys forever. And one of those guys that for the rest of my life, when someone says, oh, that guy only has 1 championship, he's not as good as this guy with 2 championships. And I'll say, well, neither of them are as good as Danny Green, obviously, because he has 3 championships. Every generation needs a Robert Horry. I'm making the joke twice. We have ours in Danny Green. And was maybe the first player podcast and is still doing it and very well. Credit to him. He does a lot of good work in media. So cool career, a guy that everyone drafted in the 2nd round should study. And every team that he never, I think only 1 year of his career played for 2 different teams. No one wanted to trade him. Like every team Danny Green was on loved having him. Great player, great career. Salute. I don't know if you have anything to add.
No, maybe hopefully Bronny James gets on that Danny Green trajectory. You know, we talk about best outcomes here. That's if he needs to grow a little bit, but that's what it looks like.
That would be wonderful. That would be very cool for him, I think. Agreed on all accounts. Hopefully we get Marcus Smart injury news, and it's good news. Not fun, Memphis preseason games. People keep getting hurt in these games, but we can't talk about that today. So look, if you just heard me say that, look it up and hear what the latest on Marcus Smart. Gavin, this was wonderful. Where can people find you on the Locked On Network? What team are you talking about?
Yeah, if you didn't get it from the show, I don't think you were listening that closely. But Locked On Knicks, follow along on Twitter, subscribe. As Tony mentioned, just a ton of Karl Anthony Towns stuff. Really, really fun episode coming out tomorrow, previewing a season in depth. So everyone should go check that out. And of course, check out Tony on Locked On Pacers.
Yeah, maybe we meet again in a postseason series and can babble back and forth. It will look a lot different this time around. Pacers won a preseason game for the first time earlier tonight, so you can hear more about that if you want over at Locked On Pacers. Locked On NBA will be back on Monday with the regular season only about 10 days away. Can you believe it? Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. We'll see you very soon.